I'm Rena Striegel. Welcome to Ag Inspo, the podcast that focuses on innovation and creativity in agriculture. In my travels across the U.S., my mind is blown by the farmers, ranchers, and business owners who are contributing to the richness of the agricultural landscape. My hope is that by sharing their stories, you will be inspired to have the courage to break through and bring an idea you have to life. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Ag Inspo. Today, we are going to be talking to Peggy Meyer, farmer, mother of 6, and the creator of an innovative new piece of software called Field Pocket. So without further ado, let's bring Peggy on. I know you're going to enjoy hearing what she's up to on their farm in Nebraska. Peggy, it's so great to have you on the Ag Inspo podcast today. And today is National Farmers Day. So that's actually kind of exciting that we are recording this episode on a really cool celebration of farmers and agriculture. And I'm really excited for you to be able to tell your story today and tell us about the really cool, innovative product that you have brought to the marketplace. So before we get into all of that, why don't you just take a few minutes and introduce yourself to the listeners?
Oh, great. Well, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. This has been really quick, but to meet you. But yes, National Farmers Day. Oh my gosh, with Ag Inspo and the opportunity here. So a little bit about me. I live in Superior, Nebraska, so South Central Nebraska. And I've been married to my husband for 26 years and we have 6 kids. And I was a city gal first. We met in college at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and we, joined our lives together. And here I am now as a farmer's wife 26 years later, and just, trying to help him, do things on the farm. I'm not a production ag person, but I can do the books. And so that was pretty evident at the beginning that, he doesn't really like the paperwork aspect of it. And so I'm like, okay, I'll take it on, so I've been doing that and just trying to make it a little bit more efficient. But with 6 kids, they range in age from 8 to 25. So very busy. We're a sports minded family. So sports is every day, so, and living 2 hours from Lincoln creates a lot of travel oftentimes. So we've got a few out of college now, but so life is busy here in a couple different seasons of farming, as everybody knows.
So are you primarily row crop? Do you have some livestock integration? Tell us a little bit about your operation.
So we're primary row crop. We have no livestock, and we do have a few animals, of course, on the farm, but I don't consider those livestock at all. But so we have a relatively large farm, over 5,000 acres, and it's diversified. It's, we have a range of owning and crop share and renting, and just enjoying the life down here as we've grown it over the last 25 years.
Fantastic. So I think a lot of people who are listening can probably relate to, the challenge of growing a farming business and raising children and trying to make sure that you get everywhere you need to be. And with that many children over that broad of an age span, I mean, you have really been moving and shaking for pretty much your whole marriage, it sounds like.
Yes, our whole marriage. We started out, my husband started out at an elevator and didn't like the desk job. He was, in sports, he was a track athlete, discus thrower at Nebraska. And he got the opportunity to coach at University of Nebraska Kearney. So that was a passion. So we actually commuted to farm for the first 4 or 5 years of our marriage, and that didn't work too well. He really, really wanted to grow the farm, but you can't really grow farming if you're not there. Right. So he quit that and got another elevator desk job that he didn't really like, but it got us to the farm. It really got us. He grew up in Superior, so it got us to the farm and allowed us to start building and growing our acres and getting more crop shares and rental ground. But he did go back to commute to coaching for 10 years And
Oh,
so it was a
wow.
lot better for him to drive an hour and 45 minutes to coach than it was for us to drive that same distance to farm. So yeah, it's been a busy life actually. And I have
Fantastic.
actually my own private practice. I'm actually a mental health provider. So I have my own counseling practice that I started from ground zero when we moved here to Superior. So we grow both of our businesses at the same time.
Fantastic. Okay, so you're both working the farm, working other jobs, and you are in charge of all of the paperwork and cost of production numbers for this very robust, quickly growing family farming operation. So tell
Yeah.
me how that opportunity led you into the business that we're going to talk about today.
So as I'm trying to, as we grow and I try to like keep the numbers in, my husband does a nice job. He has his own little spreadsheet that he uses, he kind of knows his bottom line, and how to market. So he does the marketing of Olive Grain. And I pay all the bills and incorporating QuickBooks accounting system into the development of, my record keeping. And then we said like, well, okay, now we've got so many irrigated, acres, we have pivots, we want to, try to like hone in on the expense side per field. And so, learning a little bit more about QuickBooks was able to, enter in all of the expenses, by field, which is great. But there's an income side to that. And that's where I started to really struggle is like, I couldn't wrap my head around how easily, to enter that in. Well, yeah, you just get settlement sheets, right? Farmers just get paid when they deliver to the elevator, right? So, right, only a certain time of the year we get paid. Great. But those settlement sheets didn't have anything as far as like what field they were from,
Right.
right? They have a bunch of numbers on it and you have no idea. And so as I'm trying to figure that out last fall, I'm like, this is crazy. I'm sitting at the kitchen table with like basically three stacks of papers. I have my contracts. I have like a huge stack of scale tickets and I got my settlement sheets. And so all of these have all these numbers on them. The contract numbers on the settlement sheet, the scale ticket numbers on the settlement sheet, but nowhere in there is going to tell me what field it's from, except the scale ticket, if it was written on the scale ticket. Luckily, my husband does a great job of organizing. He staples all the scale tickets by field, right? So I had that stack. But the hard part is that, the elevator gets the grain and they just apply, scale tickets, to the thing that goes. But we might be skipping fields. We might be taking fields to two different elevators, the grain from there to two different elevators. And, you have that whole thing. And so it was kind of a nightmare. I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe how many hours I spent to try to figure out. And you know what? I never did get it done. I started and I did really good. And I don't know how many farmers defer payment to the first of the year, but I think a lot of them do. They don't want it all in one chunk. Once you start, you can't stop. So then I got January 2nd, a stack. And I'm like, I almost cried. I'm like, there is no way I can do this. I would spend the entire month trying to figure that out. So that's kind of how I'm like, there's got to be an easier way. There's got to be an easier way. My husband is sit in a tractor that's air conditioned, that has, the suspension or the air ride seats and, drives down the roads by itself. And I have to sit here with piles of paperwork and like match numbers together. I'm like, that's ridiculous. And so that's kind of how it started.
Awesome. It's always amazing to me when, the pain gets to be to a certain point where you do just simply go, this just cannot be the way everybody is doing it.
Right.
If you
And so
want
I
to figure out
checked
your cost of
around.
production.
I researched software, I called some of my other, farm wife people that do the bookkeeping. And I'm like, well, how do you do it? Well, we have I have this sheet of paper and the guys do this to it. And then I get it. And then I enter it into a spreadsheet and and I'm like, that's still so much manual work. Like, I don't know. I've got a busy life. I'm trying to keep up with these kids. I'm trying to go to their activities. I don't have time to spend 3 hours at the end of the day trying to sift through paperwork. And, 9 o'clock to midnight is not a good time for my brain to work anyway. So see the mix up of all the numbers. I don't know. So it was just like, I got to that point where it was just like, this is enough. Like, this got to be a better way.
Okay, so then there has to be a better way. You called people, appeared to be no better way. So then what happened?
Well, it's in the middle of harvest last year. And through my counseling business, I had hooked up with a company called Cinduit that is like a done for you marketing social media campaign. And the owner is Jared Yellen. So he has sent out an email blast saying, hey, I'm starting this new company called Sela Labs. It's a software development company. We're looking for some ideas. So if anybody has ideas for software, here, click on this link, fill out this form. And so it kind of sat there for like a week. And I was like, could I actually give somebody my idea for like trying to get this data to link together and it works out? So finally one day I was just like, okay, I'm just going to like do this. So I sat down for like 3 hours on my computer, typed out like a 4-page proposal on everything that I wanted to like see happen with this data, sent it off, and I had a phone call Zoom meeting with them within a week.
Awesome.
And so that kind of started the process. They were like, hey, we don't really know anything about farming, but we're talking to some farming people and they think this is a really great idea. Tell me more, and so that just kind of started the process. I'm like, oh, somebody else thinks it's a good idea and they can do it. Okay. And so just kind of started that process and digging in. And it was a lot of work at the beginning because it was like, well, this was just this little idea that I had, right? Well, they have to go through their process and sift through it to see if it actually is, something that's viable, something that, they could produce in a relatively short amount of time. And because that was their deal, they wanted it to, be ready to go within, a short amount of time, like 3 to 6 months. And so I met all of that and I talked, and it probably was 4 to 6 weeks of talking and like, okay, what do you really want it to look like? Like if it got bigger, then, what's your, moonshot? What's your big dream about this? And I'm like, so just all of that having like, oh, there could be more to this, there could be more. What would I really want to see to this and where that, and then is from that big idea, funneling it back down to minimum viable product basically is like, what could we do to start this process in motion? And I'm like, it has to be the harvest paperwork because that I can't find, anywhere that can really integrate all of that. And so that's where we started.
Cool. So this is actually really fascinating to me because it really wasn't even an idea. It was a pain point that the email from a vendor is what prompted you to think into the pain point,
right?
To create, sort of the hit list. If you could alleviate my pain, this is what you would do for me.
Right.
And then you were basically developing the idea at the same time they were trying to develop a product.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So how was that for you? I mean, did you feel like, oh my gosh, what am I even doing here? I haven't even thought about this. Or were you like, this is great. I think these guys could do this. So I got to give them as much information as I can. Like, how were you inside that process?
It's a yo-yo. It was both. I mean, there was days where I was just like, oh my gosh, you really think this is a great idea? And so I'm like, boom, boom, like, here's this idea and here's this idea. And then other times like, really, would anybody really care about this? Like, would anybody really want to use this? I mean, besides me, just am I the only one that really thinks numbers are stupid, that they should just work together, right away, and I don't have to do anything, like push a button and it does all that. And so it was kind of a yo-yo process, because it was like, at first I thought, oh, my idea is awesome. And then you like dig into it a little bit more, and then you create doubt. Like, how is that really going to work? And then, to having to explain to developers who are not farmers, and I don't have a tech brain per se, like, coding or anything. I just say, I just want this and this to link together. Can't you figure it out? So trying to explain a little bit of a background about how contracts work and the various different types of contracts and the scale tickets and how that works and how it matches up with the settlement sheet. I mean, I literally had to pick apart, and I still am picking apart little different things that go on from different elevators, and like, how do you problem solve that? So it has been yay, and then down low, and doubt, and awesomeness, and it's been all over the board.
Yeah. So as you're going through this process, so they wanted something that they could get to market relatively quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It took over 6 weeks just to define the idea, since you were building the idea while they were trying to build
Right.
the product. So tell me what ended up happening. So once you got the idea clearly defined and they decided it was viable,
Yeah.
then what happened?
Well, then we had to like break it down, like frame by frame. And I'm like, these are things that I've never learned about, wireframes. When you're putting together something, there's like a screenshot for everything. So when you log into something, it takes like 5 or 6 wireframes for it to actually go through. So the process of like breaking down the problem and what's the next step, and what happens if this goes wrong, what do you do? I mean, I had to walk through with them everything, and I'm the person that basically approves the process, and I don't know if it's going to work or not. They're going to help me with like, okay, so this and this and this, and then I go, oh, but I forgot about this, and then you have to go back and like develop another string of wireframes to fix that I like, oh, I didn't think about before. And so the whole process is just, it's just like step by step by step. And I had no idea how detailed it was. And literally my brain was hurting it sometimes, because I have no idea what to do next, on this. I want this big, I'm a big vision person. I'm not necessarily like, I can do a little bit of the how-tos and the little of that, and I know how I want to see it work. But it's like, I just want this. Can't you just make that happen? But they're like, we need you to tell us,
Yeah.
how it happens. And so that, was a struggle some days. And it just seemed like, oh, and then they shoot over 100 wireframes to me look at, and I'm like, okay, what process is this? Is this the process with the contracts, or is this the process with the scale tickets? And like, so it's been fun. It's been such a great learning experience. And I do have to admit, it's been just like a struggle some days,
Okay. So tell me, I mean, now we've talked about it. So tell everybody what you actually developed.
Okay. So the name of it is Field Pocket. My whole family got involved in the logo, the name, and everything. My kids, I have artistic kids, and I have no idea where they got it from. So I even had one like draw, and it actually looks a little bit like what it was, what she drew. And so that started. So Field Pocket, what Field Pocket does is it basically takes managing your harvest paperwork, automates it. So it's really, really simple. You take pictures or you upload documents of your contracts, your scale tickets, and your settlement sheets. And it's automatically transcribed for you by a data operator. We have one in-house that does that all you, so you don't have to type any of the numbers in. But if you're one of those that really wants to, or like I found it's been very beneficial, like, oh, whoops, like this ticket did not get uploaded. So I'll just snap a picture of it really quick. It pops up and I'll just enter it myself so I can get that done. So you can do it both ways. I love the process of within 24 hours, whatever I uploaded is already there. I approve it. And so I just make sure that, it's correct, because I'm just that kind of person that needs to make sure that it's all right. And so I'll do that. And then once all of the documents are in there, like once you've approved it, then you can filter it. So you can filter the information, by field, by, scale ticket number or contract number or whatever, owners, because there's owner splits in there, elevator, commodity, basically anything that's related to any of those contracts, scale tickets and settlements, you can filter by. You can send reports to yourself or to whomever you wish. But the most fun part that I'm like excited about right now is actually seeing, once all the scale tickets and settlement sheets and contracts are together, they link together. And all I need to do is like press a button for the report and I get exactly what I wanted. I get the number of bushels by field, the dollar amount, all of that, all in just one easy little spreadsheet, a CSV file. So if you wanted, to send it or whatever, and then I can take it to my QuickBooks and enter it in just like I wanted to.
Cool.
Yeah.
So this is your first harvest using this product, right?
Yes. Yes.
So what have you found? Obviously we're not completely done with harvest yet.
Right.
So what are you and your husband finding as far as now that information is almost in real time?
Right.
Like
right.
You're almost getting that in real time.
Yes.
So how is that helping to make decisions? Have you started using that as part of your decision-making process for how you're planning for next year?
Well, not necessarily next year, even during the harvest, because with the contracts, like where you've contracted and how many bushels. And so there's a progress monitor on there. So once the scale tickets are approved in there, then it takes those bushels. And so you can see where you are on your contracts. And so it was very, very beneficial for my husband to be able to see, hey, hey, beans, I'm getting, more yield than I thought. And so I'm filling up my contract faster. And so then there is like that profit, margin there. So if you contract, obviously you most of the time you get a better price, right?
Mm-hmm.
Than over just spot check it over the scale. And so, when he's getting close, then it's like, oh, well, then I need to switch elevators because I have contracts, at this other elevator for beans, and so he was able to move. And so we could maximize our profit from those bushels just by seeing the contract progress and seeing where we're at, instead of like, hey, he still does, hey, call the elevator, hey, where am I at? Like,
hey, always trust but verify, right? Like,
right.
Brand new product, so
just in case
verify.
something happened that I didn't get, like whatever. So that, in real time, and then being able to see the scale tickets right away and catch something, so when our drivers snap a picture of it, it uploads and I can look at it even before it's transcribed, the photos in there. So you have a digital copy of your scale ticket or all your documents really, but like I was able to catch where the splits weren't correct. So the elevator mistyped the percentage of that split. And so I was able to catch that before, a check was written. And so that's the fun piece of those little things like that,
Mm-hmm.
that can help, because once those checks go out from the elevator, it's really hard to like correct them, it's so.
That's awesome. So I always love to hear too the story of how much convincing did you have to do to get all of your family on board? Because it sounds like you got them all on board. It sounds like they're all helping. But when you brought this idea to the dinner table, tell me how that went. What was the reaction to your idea?
Well, it's just like, my husband's a real, bless his heart, he kind of balances us out a little bit. He's a little bit more skeptical of things. So he was real concerned about basically getting like ripped off, or like getting my hopes up and, the rug coming out from underneath me, or somebody just wanting a ton of money for nothing that's going to actually, work or anything like that. My kids thought it was a cool idea. My younger ones are still like questioning whether or not that's your job now. Like when is that going to be over? Like,
Of Of course, when does life go back to normal?
No, when does this like go back? Like, when are you not going to work on that anymore? And I'm like, oh, never, it's just, a new thing. And so, but the family got involved with, the design of the logo and stuff. And so it was kind of a mixed bag, and, my husband's like, hey, it works, but he's still that little skeptical thing, which is fine. I love him for it. He brings me back to reality sometimes to, check in with that. But his concern is it didn't want to, cost a whole lot for us.
Right.
And jeopardize, our farming operation.
Yeah, for sure. So how did you guys overcome that barrier?
So I'm like, I promise not to use any of the farm, money to that. We had some saving up, I've been saving up for some things. So, personally, we put in, a lot of money to get it started. And now we're looking for, investors and then users to help maintain that monthly, burn through money just to keep the upgrades going and the marketing pieces. And, but, it's like, it didn't cost a ton, which was amazing because, the soft, you can spend a ton of money and a ton of time building software, but I'm so blessed to be able to, get a hold, and work with Jared Yellen. And now Jared Yellen and Sela Labs is merged with, if anybody knows Grant Cardone and his 10X company, they have merged now. And so it's 10X Incubator, and you can go and if anybody else has a tech idea, go to 10X Incubator and pitch your idea, because they are just wonderful. And, they're just wonderful to work with.
Yeah. So I think that is a really great message for people. I think a lot of people will have an idea and they'll be like, oh, I want to do this, or this could be an app, or this could be a piece of software, but then they get paralyzed because, oh, it'll cost too much and I don't want to do that. So they get so scared about what it might be that they don't even ask the questions.
Yes. And they don't even look any further. And I have been really working on that, for myself over the years, is when you get that little voice inside of you, that little, gut reaction, that intuition, it's that voice inside of you that says, you're meant for more. You're meant to do something more, and then like, listen. And that was just one of those pieces that I had that, and I was like, well, why not you? And part of my mental health practice too is like, this year I decided to switch over. A lot of people have goals and stuff. So I wanted to try like a word of the year. And so I chose fearless for the beginning of 2021. And so every day then, I remind myself, okay, what does that mean to me? Well, in this aspect, I had that, little, even though this was, prior to 2021, I was thinking about the word of the year all this time, but it's like, okay, well, you have to trust yourself. Your little voice inside of you tells you something for a reason. And, I believe, God plants that inside of us, and, and it's that little seed, and what are you going to do with it? And so that was my little seed. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to plant it and see, where it goes. And because I don't want to live like with like, oh, what if I did that? I did it. Now what happened? That's so much better than, oh, I didn't try because I was a little scared. Yeah. So I'm just trying to like help people kind of like, trust yourself, and then find the right people, and the right people you have to like feel good about. And that in this whole situation, and finding Jared, and finding the team, and Sela, and 10X Incubator, all the people I have been involved with in developing the product and the marketing and all of that stuff, they just feel right, and there's a good relationship there. So that's a big key for a lot of things. Sometimes we get these little thoughts and then we don't have the right people around us, but keep looking, because they're there.
So tell me where you're at now, because you've built it. It's live. There's a website. You can go out and you can purchase this product now. So tell me, with the help of this is so cool that while you're building a business, the people who are building your business are also getting these amazing opportunities to expand and grow. So tell me, where are you at and what does your team look like today? Because somebody's got to be doing all that data, because I know it's not you, because you are all, that's going to be way too much.
So Field Pocket is live. You can go to www.fieldpocket.com. You can look at it. I have a demo. You can see my face. You can hear my voice. I go through the demos on that. And I really, really want people to kind of connect with me. You know, you can, my email is peggy@fieldpocket.com, and you can put that in the show notes. And I really want people to contact me and share their story and share, you know, how they do it, because I'm just one person. This was just my idea, even though I tried to like research other people and how they do it. I really would love to hear, you know, other ways people do it and how to make it, because my whole goal is, you know, to make something as time saving and as efficient as possible. So I'm going through right now Field Pocket, and I'm like listing all of these things that, you know, need to be a little bit more efficient, you know, with it, because that's my thing. It's like, I, you know, want to do that. So that's where it is now. My team, they are all over actually, you know, because they can work virtually. So Sela started an engineering, you know, basically software development team in India. So the people that write the code and all of that, they're based out of India. There's a lot of them in Florida, around Grant Cardone's TEDx Miami area. But I work with a team that, you know, I've got a person that I work with in Dallas, and I've had a person that work with in New Jersey. I mean, and they're all over, but we connect with Zooms and we have weekly meetings. And, you know, I have a product development person, I have a sales person, I have, you know, somebody to help me with marketing. And so the team is really nice, because there's no way I could do this on my own. There's like, great idea, great, but you know, marketing and sales isn't necessarily my forte, but I'm learning. And this is just one piece of the puzzle. I would really like to connect with farmers who can help me understand the process of taking grain from the field to their storage in their bin, and then to the elevator, because that's one of the next pieces I would love to have before next harvest, because we do have grain storage too. And I have yet to conceptualize, you know, that whole process. Like we talked about earlier, all those wire frames, you know, and how it all works. I kind of have to figure that out so that the team can build that, because you kind of want to build it somewhat, you know, accurate first. Otherwise it takes more time and money to get it changed up. So anybody out there that does, you know, have grain storage, I would love to know the process of how they keep track of, you know, how many bushels is in there and how you reconcile it once you do take it to the elevator. That's a piece of it. I'd love to talk to custom harvesters, because I really think that they go through so many scale tickets. We have a custom harvester that helps us with our harvest, and I've talked with him, and it's like they have so much paperwork and invoicing of you know, to different farmers. And I would love to be able to, you know, produce something that is more specific to them and tailored to them and to help them, because they work such long hours. I mean, just like farmers do, but they, you know, have so many other farmers that they're working for. And I couldn't imagine going for months on harvest. Like, it's crazy just for, you know, 6 to 8 weeks in the fall for us. I couldn't imagine that they go from, you know, April, May through all the way into November, December. So that's another target people. I would love to also talk with accountants, because I want to integrate this into an accounting software automatically, so I don't have to enter it. So I'd really love to talk with bookkeepers, especially those that work mainly with farmers, on how, one, it's a little bit, you know, personal. I want to learn better how to do my own books, but I also want to help, you know, hey, can this help integrate in, can Field Pocket integrate into an accounting software and work in there?
Yeah. So. Oh, that's really cool. So when you say the team, then are they on your staff, or is your whole team basically attached to the 10X?
So yeah, the team is attached to 10X. And so they're working on multiple products, So the goal there for SELA initially, but now 10X Incubator is 10,000 tech companies in 10 years. And so they're wanting ideas and they're building, and I think they have like maybe 100 at this point, different tech companies that they have helped start and co-found with this. So yeah, it's a team of, and they're working on other products. So like right now, like my development team, we're not in trenches of trying to build it. We're just in the, okay, fixing the bugs and what's next kind of phase. And the marketing team is in like full force, and so another company now probably has some of my, development team working on their product, and so it's a lot of people.
Yeah. So I think that this is another big paradigm shifter that we're talking about here, where, sometimes in our limited thinking, we need to have the idea, we need to do all the work, we need to hire all the staff, we need to be able to basically run a full-fledged company while we are trying to develop and market a product. So right. I love this as sort of a paradigm shifter to say, all I had was the idea and the energy and the passion to see it through to the end. And through great partnership, they're taking care of all the stuff that usually entrepreneurs get stuck on, because that's not what they do. They don't run teams, and they don't do sales, and they don't do marketing, and they don't have IT, and they don't have a connection to India.
Right.
And so they're just like, this is too hard. I don't know how to do it. So I'll just sit on the idea and hope nobody steals it from me. Right.
Right. Right. And believe it or not, I think I've had some of those ideas in the past where I was like, oh, that would be an awesome idea. I have no idea where to start. So dead in the water. And then you see like 2 years later is just like something very, very similar to your idea. And we're like, like if I even had some place to go or some idea, place to like bounce it off of, there's more and more of those, opportunities out there. And I say, just go for it, because now we're stuck with that regret type of thing. It's like, like if we would have got in, like, who knows if we would have started Uber, or, if we would have started, Facebook, or, any tool, any, thing, is just like, where would we have been? Yeah. Somebody started it. Why not you?
Yeah. I love that. So so now you've got your mental health practice, you've got Field Pocket. So how do you see this going for you? Like, what are your hopes for yourself? Because now you're an entrepreneur of two successful businesses. Right. So what do you see for yourself at this point?
Well, I've always been really interested in like self-care, wellness, and that's, what I teach a lot of my clients. But I see the merger between, the farming community and my background and passion and wellness and self-care and, the mental health aspect of, just teaching and educating and inspiring people, farmers in the agriculture community because there's yo-yo. I mean, we go through so many emotions. I feel like I'm so blessed to be a counselor professionally, because I probably use more of those skills in my house than I do my clients, because it's an everyday ordeal with, okay, oh, it rained, it didn't rain, it's like, oh, we can't get in the field, we can't get enough done in the field, it's an emotional roller coaster to be on in the farming industry, and because there's so many things that are outside of our control. So I feel like I have a great chance and opportunity to merge what I teach people, like everybody needs to know, to take care of yourself, to reduce the stress, to, keep your brain healthy, to keep your body going, to, manage your emotions, and apply that and say, hey, I live this every day in my life as a farmer's wife and a farm family. So that's where I kind of see a merger coming.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That is very awesome. So tell me, you've alluded to a little bit some of the challenges. What has been some of the biggest successes? Like, what has been some of your favorite highlights of this journey so far?
Well, just meeting, like one is just meeting new people that have the passion and they know how to get things done, and, they're all for you. And I just like, oh, they just rave about all of the ideas and stuff. So it's kind of like meeting new people that have a passion for making change and making things better and wanting to make the world a better place, just little inefficiencies at a time. And so one is just meeting new people and the opportunities that's going to, give for me, and the opportunity for, the merging of, both my kind of passions and education and jobs that I've been going through, and kind of merging that.
Yeah.
But also it's just like, I really have to kind of like, I can't believe I developed a product that works wonders, for myself. I mean, I'm still kind of like in shock some days. I'm like, oh my gosh, this actually works. Like, this has saved me so much time. And then just being that part of me too, that going, why not, and just taking that step, and being fearless in my mind is just like, okay, you see it, you're scared, you have doubts, but go for it, and seeing how that goes, because I see more, in myself. I'm like, oh, I can actually do this now. Like, okay, so I can, tell other people that they can do this too.
Mhm.
Don't like put yourself in a little box, just because everybody around you has no idea what you're talking about. And I don't even know what I'm talking about when I talk about wireframes. It doesn't matter. Like, just go for it.
I love it. I love it. So you've obviously have placed the call out on this show to say,
Yeah.
I need to talk to people.
Right.
Who's the ideal client for this product, as your marketing team has like been, kind of narrowing that focus? What's
Right.
the ideal client? Who should be taking a look at this product?
Well, of course, my initial, thing is like every farmer needs this, right? But it's not going to fit everybody's, operation. We're trying to figure out like the number of acres, because it really, or the scale tickets and your volume.
Mhm.
Obviously corn farmers here in the Midwest, because of the number of bushels and, scale tickets and loads that they go through, are going to be the main target. And those that have, 1,000, 2,000 acres or more,
Mhm.
just to have the volume to, see all the connections and ease this time savings and the inefficiencies with that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the main target. The other one we're looking at is, yes, we want to like get those custom harvesters and get
Mhm.
their opinion and more, because we feel like that is a unique niche. They
Mhm.
may not be able, we may have to tailor the field pocket to them a little bit more, just because they might not necessarily need the contracts and the settlement sheets, because they're mainly working with the scale tickets.
Mhm.
But there's customer harvesters that also farm, so they'll need the whole aspect of it as well.
Yeah. Well, that is really awesome. So I'll just put a shout out. If you are a Yushi member and are sitting here listening to this, Peggy wants to talk to you. She
Yes.
is trying to save you some time and reduce your headaches. So that's really awesome. That's really awesome. So tell me, what's the timeline now for you? You're in your first season of testing this
Mhm.
product out. I'm
Yep.
assuming you've got other farmers helping to test your product and giving you
Yep.
feedback at this point.
Yes.
So what does 2022, what is 2022 bringing your way?
Well, in
what's the
working with
go-to?
and talking with more farmers, I want to be able to have that integrate from, field to bin and bin to elevator, and get that reconciled and get that process really easy to flow. So I need ideas, and I need, how people do it already, and to be able to figure that out, and hopefully soon, so that we can get that in the market for the harvest season for 2022. That is kind of the highlight of that's my main push.
Mhm.
But I have so many ideas for this. I have so many ideas. I want to like really hone in and really get the harvest situation in, but I, want to integrate with the accounting And, there's so much more I can do with this.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
that's
but
really
for
cool.
2022, the main focus for me is trying to get that reconciliation from the bin.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we are going to make sure that all of this information is in the show notes for people so that you can connect with Peggy. You can
Yes.
find out about the 10X program. If you've got some great tech idea, I'm sure Peggy would love to talk to you about how to get that idea into their hands. It sounds like we've got just a great opportunity for a lot of collaboration to help Peggy not only get her product where she wants it, but also maybe some of you could shorten your learning curve a little bit by talking to Peggy. So I think we've got a really great opportunity here. It's fantastic. And I love the innovation. I really love it when, like I said, a pain point turns into a solution. I just think that this is a fantastic story. And I am going to be so excited to hear where you are next year and where you end up in 5 years and what happens with this amazing software to see how many solutions you actually end up, creating by just trying to solve the one pain point, which is to get all of that paper off your kitchen table.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. I'm so looking forward to it. I'm so pumped. I'm just like, the sky is not even the limit on this. So
that's really great. Really great. Well, I just want to thank you again so much for sharing your story, sharing a little bit about your family, sharing about your idea. And I do have to ask, since since succession planning and farm legacy is like my passion area, do you have any kids that are coming into the farming operation to be the next generation of farmers in your family?
Well, we have 2 picked out. Not that we handpick them, but their interests are, we have 5 girls and a boy. Our youngest is a boy. And so definitely the boy is all farm, all the time, all boy, all of that. Our 19-year-old is going to school for ag engineering, and we're really excited. She's our top-notch grain cart driver right now, and she's always had interest in the farm, and she has been the one that has run a lot of the equipment. And our oldest has done some of that as well. And so, yeah. We're setting this up so they can, continue farming for generations.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I'm going to so look forward to the next time we get to talk, because I have no doubt that there is going to be a lot to talk about in the near future. So thank you again so much for joining us. For all of our listeners, thank you for joining another great episode of Ag Inspo, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Thank you so much.
This is Rena Striegel, and you have been listening to Ag Inspo, the podcast. Please visit my website at tomorrowiscoming.com and find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. If you haven't yet, please go to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join me next week for another inspirational episode where you will hear from another amazing entrepreneur who has had the courage to break through and bring an idea to life.